Ladies and gentlemen, I am sorry for that hiccup. I am experiencing load shedding where I'm at. I'm not sure if everyone can see me because I'm very dark and this lighting is not helping, but please bear with us. It's going to be a great evening. Sally, are we ready to start?
Yes, we can start.
Awesome. Good evening and welcome, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you all for joining our monthly UKZN's College of Agriculture, Engineering and Sciences alumni series, where you get to meet our graduates. Tonight, I'm your host, Ndogozodladla. Before we start, please note this event will be recorded, so keep your mic muted. Have your Zoom set to speaker view and post any of your questions on the chat. Our guest speaker is Thandi Ngxongo. Thandi is a farm girl from Mooi River, a chemical engineer by profession, a UKZN MBA Cum Laude graduate who is currently a PhD candidate. She has vast experience in engineering at senior management level in the petrochemical industry. Thandi is an inspirational leader who strives for growth and excellence and is driven by her passion to serve in business by inspiring people and by contributing meaningful work to different communities. Thandi is the founder and director of Thandi Ngxongo Project, which has grown to have 4 portfolios. BP Moore Road Petrol Service Station with Pick and Pay Express and a Wild Bean Cafe. Residential and commercial property investment, Thandi's Kitchen, and last but not least, Thandi Ngxongo Foundation, a community empowerment. To inspire greatness, Thandi collaborates with different stakeholders such as UKZN, eThekwini Municipality, Google Digital Skills for Africa, and Howard FET College. She is a proud, passionate, and skilled mentor, being one of 30 mentors for the Google Digital Skills in Africa mentorship program. She has mentored and coached vast numbers of young engineers and is an advocate for women in the science, technology, engineering, and mathematics fields. She's also a founder of the Women with Drive Committee, which creates platforms for women in business and leadership to engage, encourage, support, inspire, and recognize excellence. Thandi strongly believes in equal rights for all and enough for everyone. She is a public speaker who advocates for women and youth empowerment, equal opportunities, wealth creation, and a balanced lifestyle. Thandi is a wife to Ngxongo and is blessed with 3 children. Tonight, she joins us to tell us more about the prominence of mentorship. So let us learn from a mentor to be a mentor to others. Ladies and gentlemen, may we please put a round of applause for Thandi Ngxongo. Please come onto screen and join us.
Hi, Dokozo. Can you hear me? Can you see me?
Yes.
Okay. Thank you so much for the introduction and greetings to everyone who is connected tonight and those who are watching us through live stream. So I'm Thandi, as Dokozo have said, and I am going to be sharing my journey around prominence of mentorship. And I hope that as I share, you also find yourself, because I'll be sharing my journey, but you also find yourself, and I hope that it will trigger something in you and channel you to a point of some introspection around your own personal development and that of others at your disposal through mentorship. So thank you so much, UKZN, for having me tonight. It's really an honor. I don't know if my slides are... Sally, are you going to help me?
Yeah. I'll share.
Okay. I only have 5 slides, colleagues. I am a person who, I believe in learning through visuals. So I just have some visual slides, which are 5. They are one of my best learning methods. You know, when I see something, I interpret it my own way. I make it resonate with me, and then it stays with me for a very long time. So really, these slides are just to provoke our minds to interpret and personalize them for our own benefit. So I'll be sharing on the topic of prominence of mentorship. And I know that all of us, you know, we have our own interpretation, and that is fine, that is okay. At the end of the session, I believe that Untogozo will give some time for a few of us to reflect on the content and contribute for the benefit of all of us. So I'm going to take just 25 minutes to 30 minutes in sharing my thoughts around the topic. So as I've said, I intentionally use the slides for this specific discussion because I would like us to agree on the fundamental principles, you know, that underpins our conversation. So the first one, what did I do now? Okay, so the first principle that I'd like us to agree with is that the world is connected, you know, so as us as human beings, we are connected to each other. There's nothing that exists in isolation, you know, and I think that's one of the leads to the quote that says, "Umuntu, umuntu ngabantu," you know. And the second fundamental principle that I'd like us to agree with is that our life or our growth is in our hands. You know, it is entirely up to us how we connect the dots of our lives for our own benefit and for the benefit of others. And so just like everyone else in life, we have choices. We can either stay in isolation, you know, work in silos and operate at micro level, or we can step up and contribute to the connectedness of the world, you know, and of our lives, of our personal lives. And I personally choose the latter. And one of the powerful and high value methods that I use is through mentorship. Okay, so we can go to the next slide. So on this slide here, yes. I found this slide to be very powerful. This concept is the concept of Ikigai, which is a Japanese concept referring to something that gives a person a sense of purpose and a reason for living. You know, so it's a point where passion, profession, vocation, and mission connects. And if you think about this, if all of us here in the world were operating at a point of Ikigai, if everyone if the world was full of people who are operating at the point where they do what they love, you know, what they do is what they are good at, and they are doing what the world needs, and they are getting paid for it. I really believe that a world will be a better place to be in. And this is a point where I personally interpret as a point of serving, you know, because I take that everything that I do is actually really serving. And I've always been intentional about navigating through my point of Ikigai, you know, my point of serving. And when I was a technician, Ntokozo has shared with you that I'm an engineer by profession, but I am in business now. I'm an entrepreneur now. So I started as a technician in the refinery here in Wentworth, you know, and when I was a technician, I was aspiring to be an engineer. Since high school, I wanted to be an engineer. And at the time, I was not a mentor. At the time, I was not mentoring anyone. I was not in any way at a level where I can mentor people, where I can pour from my cup, because my cup was empty at the time. I didn't have any knowledge. I was starting in the industry, and I needed at least to have few drops of water in my cup so that I can then avail myself to share with others how I got my first drops of water in my cup. So while my cup was empty, I was operating at my highest peak, that landed me with a session with the GM, who was William Oseizan at the time, to discuss my future aspiration. And at that point, it accelerated my career growth and landed me in the engineering department. And that, for me, was the first time where I was operating at a point of Ikigai, because it was the first time I was operating at a point of service. I loved what I was doing. I was good at it. I mean, I had a degree for it. It was what the world needs at the time, and I was getting paid for it. So I was excited. I was living my purpose, and this is when I took a conscious decision of becoming a mentor, of mentoring aspiring engineers and engineering graduates. I felt that I now have few drops of water in my cup, and I'm ready to be a light and pour a little bit to others so that they can also have few drops in their cups. And at this time in my organization, mentorship program was something that was there, something that's there, but it was not a program that was intentionally entrenched and embedded, as the culture of the organization. I was intentional about it. I facilitated some processes where junior engineers are assigned to engineers so that their learning process can be structured and it can be monitored against set KPIs. And I facilitated in drafting those KPIs to make sure that they benefit both the graduates and the organization. I went out through high schools and facilitated career expos that aim to shine the light and give our grade 12s a glimpse of what tertiary life looks like, and how they can avoid some of the pitfalls that we went through while we were in tertiary. So I was operating at my point of service back then when I was in the engineering. It was a profession that I had dreamed of since high school, and I was very passionate about it. And I used that platform to make sure that I mentor others that are coming behind me. And if you go to the next slide, I know that all of us, we have a different interpretation of mentorship, and that's okay. All of it is okay. There's no right or wrong answer. But for me, this slide here is sums it all for me. This one here, it sums it all for me. It summarizes it nicely. When I became intentional about mentoring others, these are the activities that I facilitated or I contributed on, which I believe that they are part of mentorship. I was intentional in motivating other people, in giving advices, in contributing to others or other people's successes. I was assisting others to get their own direction in life, because I think as mentors, and some of you guys, maybe you are already mentors, you would know that you don't tell people, it's not spoon feeding people. You don't spoon feed people. You don't tell people what they need to do, but you guide them to navigate through their own purpose, through their own point of serving. We coach, we support, we assist others to put together their own personal development goals, and training activities to make sure that they navigate through their point of Ikigai. And I fully recognize that not all of us can do all these activities, but if you do one or two of these activities, you are contributing into mentoring others. And because the way that I describe mentorship is that if you are a mentor, you are an enabler, and these activities are enabling someone to actually navigate through their own purpose. It's a combination of enabling activities that fuels the spark within a person's life, that enables one to to realize their full potential, to taste their own success. And that is really operating at a point of Ikigai for me, having a sense of purpose and a life of service. And that's where I wish that all of us can, at some point in life, operate at, because it really transformed the outlook on life. And that's where I say you have a little bit of water in your cup, and then you can pour some into other people that are coming behind us. And also, well, maybe I also need to acknowledge that the organization that I was working for, I have always worked in an environment where I have total control or complete freedom to bring myself into the position. Never in my life where I would operate within the scope of my job. I get into the position or into the job, and I use that platform to serve, so that so to have organization that allows that is really something to be grateful for. And it's something that I challenge all of us, because I know that the people that are listening now are leaders, in different organizations and in different businesses. I challenge all of us to actually be enablers in creating such environments, in the spaces where we have influence. The people that we employ, we must allow them to bring themselves into the position. And that is when they can actually navigate to find their own Ikigai, operate at having a sense of purpose, and then pouring that to other people. Because all of us, in the world, we have to, I said at the beginning, we are all connected, it's difficult to grow in silos. So we have to connect with each other. So we must be enablers to the people that we lead, to make sure that they find their point of service so that they can serve other people. And because of that, never in my life where I would micromanage my employees or people, my subordinates. I always allow employees to bring themselves into the position. Of course, there'll be times where you need to micromanage, but it will only be where us as leaders can see that this person needs some extra support. Remember that mentorship is not one size fits all. It is a combination of all these activities that you see here. And some people need close mentoring, not mentoring from a distance. But when we micromanage people, we must just really do that from that premise, a premise of being an enabler, of being a mentor. If you go to the next slide, so my all day, everyday hashtag is we lift as we rise. For those who follow me on social media will know, every time when I share anything, I would end with a hashtag that says we lift as we rise, and hashtag all of us must win. This is really one of my mottos that I live by, and I preach in every platform that I get, be it a formal platform or platforms like social media or any other platforms. So while I was in engineering, operating at my point of Ikigai, living my life of service, and so on, after 3 to 4 years, I decided that I also need to look for a mentor. I told the guys that in my organization at the time, there was a mentorship program, but it was really something that is there, employees did not really resonate with it. So I was intentional about this because I could feel that I'm starting to be confined in the four walls of the refinery. Even though I really didn't have a clear vision of where my next move would be, but I knew that it is time for me to plan it. So I looked around within my organization and I identified persons whom I thought could be good mentors to me. Because remember that our personal growth, be it in corporate or in the business, depends on us. Remember my first slide, it is in our hands. So I took it upon myself to look for a mentor because I knew that it is time for me to move now and shine the light somewhere else. So I believe that we can look for mentors within our organizations or even outside our organizations, And I'm just going to mention two of the people who helped me, with the hope that maybe it will inspire us, to take the pattern from how they approach me in terms of being my mentor. These are the people who really contributed immensely into my personal growth. And when I left the refinery and joined corporate, it was really a flow for me because I had already mastered the concept of mentorship. I had already mastered the concept of lifting as I rise. Because remember, I was already a mentor to a lot of graduates and aspiring graduates and graduate engineers at the refinery. So the two individuals that I'd like to acknowledge who really contributed in my growth, Usheli Moroka Musia, she was my former boss. And most of you know that a corporate can swallow you if you are young. You're a young leader, a young engineer full of passion, you want to do things. Corporate sometimes can swallow you. And Shelly, she was not my boss at the time. She wasn't my boss. She called me in her office in Cape Town. I made an appointment with my next trip, and she sat me down and offered herself to mentor me. She's a GM. She was a general manager of the company, but she offered herself to mentor this young junior leader, because I was really a junior leader when I left refinery to corporate. I was a junior leader at the time. So she didn't have to do this, but she saw a potential and she offered herself to nurture this potential to reach their goals. And as I said, she was not my line manager. I was even too junior for her to hire me or for me to report to her. But she saw something in me, and she coached and mentored me in different ways that really contributed into my career growth. The second person, Sandra Redlinghurst, she was not my line manager as well at the time, but also she would offer herself for some closed door sessions where she would share some wisdom and light on how to navigate myself through a corporate environment. And at some stage in my career, I reported to them. And it was really a lovely opportunity because, you see, if you work for such leaders who are intentional to see people grow, it becomes difficult to fail because you work tireless, you put extra effort to make sure that you make them proud. And in the process, it grows you as a person. So it becomes a win-win situation. So really the food for thought for me for sharing this one is, do we have people who can talk like that about us in our absence? In our busy schedule, do we find time to identify talent within the spaces of our influence and offer our mentorship to nurture the talent? I know all of us are busy. I'm still at work. As you can see, I'm still on my work regalia because it's so busy with the petrol price increase. I'm only going to go home very late tonight. But in our busy schedule, we still need to offer our services to make sure that we mentor other people to be where we are. So there are a few things that I want to highlight at this stage, my colleagues. As much as some organizations can have mentorship programs, but it is entirely up to me and you as individuals how serious we take our personal growth and the growth of other people in our influence, and what steps we take to make sure that we realize that goal. My courage to identify someone and ask them to mentor me, or our courage or your courage to identify someone and ask them to mentor you, may change your life completely, and it may accelerate your personal growth. We are all connected. There are people that have gone ahead of us that has wisdom and knowledge that we can identify them to be our mentors. And on the flip side, when someone targets us, gathers a courage to target us and approach us and ask us to mentor them, our response to those people that are coming behind us has a potential of changing their personal life forever. Because as I said at the beginning, mentorship is a combination of different activities. So just that motivation, that 15-minute session to sit with a person who is asking you to mentor them, that 15-minute session of motivation or of trying to help them navigate through their own path may change their life forever. There are chances, of course, where the people that we approach for one-on-one mentorship may decline, and that is okay. We cannot then judge them just because they decline to mentor us. They may be genuinely busy, or they have full capacity of mentees. Do not let that be the end of the world. Continue with the cause until you get what you want. And remember, I said that personal development is in our hands. So mentorship is not rigid. It's not through just one-on-one mentorship. It's not just one activity. We can still follow that person on social media. We can still read whatever contribution that they have made that aligns with what we are looking for. We can still listen to sessions like this. That will still be mentorship. And most of us as mentors, we are intentional in sharing. We share through all platforms because we realize that it may not be possible to have a one-on-one mentorship with all the mentees, but they can still benefit from what we share. So I would encourage, I know that not all of us are extroverts, some of us are introverts, but let's share, whatever that comes into your mind that you think that it can benefit others, let's share that. I'm also at a stage where I cannot take on one-on-one mentorship, but there are platforms where I refer people to. As I said at the beginning that I'm one of the Google digital skills mentors for Africa. So for anyone who requests my mentorship, I refer them to that platform because I know that they can, even if I don't personally mentor them, but they are exposed to a pool of mentors around Africa who can have a one-on-one session with them. And I'm intentional about publicizing this information through all my social media platforms. And I believe that information sharing must be done. Information must be shared widely and benefit people even outside my circle. For example, the session now, I know that it's
I think we've lost Thandi Ngxongo. Have you found her?
No, I think she's lost connection. Yeah, she might be. I think what is happening with load shedding? Oh, there she is.
She's back. I don't know what happened. So, okay, I don't know where I ended, but can you hear me now, right? Dogozo?
Yes, we can hear you.
Oh, thank you.
Yes.
So, okay, thanks.
Yes, we can hear you, Thandi.
Okay, thanks. So I need to mention that we do not identify mentors because we want them to hire us. That's not the intention. And I learned this through Australia. Remember I shared with you Shelly as one of my is one of the mentors that really contributed into my success in corporate. And when I was a junior leader, she offered to mentor me. But when I had climbed the corporate ladder and applied for a position in her executive, my intuition was like, she's going to hire me. I mean, she knows me, she knows my capabilities, she was my mentor. So they shortlisted me I went through the interview, they declined. I was declined, and I was so shocked. In fact, it was my first time where I ever get declined in the interview. And again, as a mentor, she called me and told me that it was not yet my time. She showed me some of the blind spots that I didn't know about myself. She coached me into working on those blind spots. And guess what? A few months down the line, I was offered a position, because when I left corporate, I was in a space where I'm headhunted by even other petroleum industry, petroleum companies in the petroleum industry. So when I decided, as I draw to the conclusion of my session, when I decided to transition from corporate to business, again, I was intentional about looking for mentors who are already in business. And I did this in a normal way of like identifying people who's okay, this is a person who's in business, and that's actually how I really met Usibonelo Mbatha, who is a co-founder of Petrochemical. He's one of the persons as well who contributed immensely into my transition from corporate into the business. He mentored me through training activity, because he exposed me to the Petrochemical Academy. I enrolled for 2 weeks course in the academy, and it escalated my transition and enabled me to reach my goal even before the time I had set for myself, And there are others besides Usibonelo, because I started the business while I was in corporate before I even could leave corporate. But I made sure that I identified people who are going to mentor me, because I needed. It's not easy to live the security of corporate and do your own business. It's not easy, especially if you're happy, you are really operating in your point of Ikigai, you are doing all these good things. You are a national leader, you really have freedom to do anything. It was not easy. So that's why I needed some mentors so that they can motivate me, they can tell me that the journey of business is something that it's worth it. It's something that you can transition into. But I also used other avenues of mentorship. I went back to school. I enrolled for my honors through Duke University. I enrolled for my master's through UKZN. And throughout my honors and my master's learning, my focus was on leadership, and it was on petroleum retailing. And why I did this, there are two major reasons why I did that. Firstly, I had already identified the business stream where I wanted to invest and venture into. So my intention of registering for honors and masters was already influenced by my desire to transition into business. And I knew exactly which business I want to transition into, that I was clear. And my thesis was on women in leadership in the petroleum retailing, which was purposefully chosen to gain access to all these women who are owning service stations in KZN. I wanted to network with them, and I wanted them to mentor me, to have sessions where I can learn from them. Secondly, I wanted to contribute to the body of knowledge. I wanted to bring hope to any person, especially women who get into contact with my piece of writing, what I wrote in the thesis. I wanted those women to know that we can do anything that we set our mind on, and that we can lead corporates, we can lead male-dominated businesses, and we can do so successfully, and that I believe that that's also part of mentoring other people that are coming behind me. And I always preach that we no longer go to school to get certificates, a piece of paper. We go to school to absorb as much knowledge as we can, to get mentorship through education, to network, and to get enablers towards our dreams. And the honest truth is that we are where we are because someone believed in us, by performing any activities around mentorship. Someone became an enabler, someone sparked the light within ourselves. We then need to acknowledge that by doing the same to others, You know, once we taste the fiber of success, once we take one step forward, you know, we must enable others to taste the fiber of success as well. I'm a firm believer that, and for those who know me or who have read any piece that I've written, be it through formal channels or informal channels, who know that I'm a firm believer that there is enough for everyone on this earth. You know, God's resources are enough for all of us. So we can rise through other people because there are other people that are believing in us, are holding our hand from the top steps. And, you know, we're taking one step up in reaching our goals. And while we do that, we need to look back, you know, lend a hand to others, mentor other people for them to also climb the step. You know, one step at a time we climb, we hold others behind us. We all climb together. We are all connected. As human beings, we are connected. We cannot operate in silos. So we really need to lift as we rise. And that is my last slide. We can go to the next slide, which is my last slide, which really demonstrates that as we mentor other people, we are giving water, you know, to the plant. You know, we are growing the plant within them. And once we do that, they will do that to other people, and all of us will win at the end. And I would encourage all of us to be intentional. And I hope that the examples that I gave you made the session to be practical, to be easily understood what being a mentor is, and encouraging all of us to mentor other people in the process. Thank you, guys. Thank you, Ntokozo.
Thank you so much for that, Thandi. For those of you who joined us a little bit late, please note that I am experiencing a bit of load shedding, so we will only get lights at 8. So I have put off my video just so my internet connection is stable. Thank you so much for that, Thandi. It was very insightful. I've been contemplating getting a mentor because people who look like they're in high position, they look very intimidating. There is that factor that they're always busy. Yeah, they're not available. So you just, at least there's other of us for us to get mentorship, like the Google digital skills. Right?
Yes. Mm-hmm.
You're a very busy woman. Okay, I've had this conversation with my friends because they're also in sciences. Firstly, engineering, that's hard and it demands so much of your time. And you were in the field working, but somehow you managed to do everything, and here you are now doing your PhD. How do you out everything? And you have a young family. How do you balance it? Serious. And I've been following you on social media, and I see you're very social. You go to social gatherings, so it's not like you're always in a book or you're always at conferencing or mentoring. Yeah, I've seen you. You do everything. You go to parties. You go to church. How? Where do you find the time?
I mean, you saw in my profile, I'm a person who believes in balanced lifestyle. You know, we are on earth for a specific a period for a specific purpose. We are not going to be here forever. So I am not a person who believes that, no, I'm going to focus just on this thing, and then I'm going to let the other angles of my life crack through, you know. And I believe that it is possible for all of us. We are, as human beings, we are designed to multitask, you know. God has made us to be able to do many things at the same time. So I really think that if we plan our life, I think my strong point is really planning I'm a good planner. You know, I have my life planned out until retirement, until I die. I know exactly what's going to happen. And of course, it can change here and there, but I know I've already mapped up my life until I die, you know, and that's what causes conflict between my husband and I, because he's not a good planner and now I am a good planner. So I believe that if you plan your life, you know, you have a long-term plan, you have a short-term plan, you have a weekly plan, you have a daily activities. So that enables us to balance our lifestyle, you know, and of course, having support from the family also helps us a lot. And having mentors, Dogozo, we can really never downplay this concept. We can never downplay this concept, because those are the people who tell you, you know, because me now, when I choose mentors, I choose a combination. There are people who are really old, you know, and there are people who are mentoring myself and my husband in marriage, who have been in marriage for very many years. So you get wisdom from those people, and then you are able to then balance your lifestyle. You know, there's 24 hours a day for all of us, and it depends how we treat that, each and every one of us. It depends what we do with the 24 hours to make sure that we are successful in all angles of our lives.
Wow, okay. So scientists, it's possible you can have a social life, you can have a vibrant academic life, and, you know, still manage your businesses. Okay, I don't know how possible it will be for the rest of us, but I guess I need to find myself a mentor who's going to help me in that path. You said a lot of very useful things that I think really stood out for me, and I don't think I've ever looked at it in that way. Firstly, you were in a position or in a company that had a mentorship program, but it wasn't doing what you felt was enough. And then you went a step further and actually developed or grew that program into something bigger. And I never looked at mentorship as a sense of you as the mentee, as the mentor, you also gaining something from the mentee. I've always looked at it as if it's only the mentee who's supposed to gain something. Someone asked a question of you were mentoring high school students to show them varsity life, and asked about funding. Was it funded, or was it just an initiative that you came up with and then you went ahead with it? How did it go up? I think that person. We need to know where to start as possible mentors.
Yeah.
Is it funding? Are you paid for it? How do I start?
I think that's a very good question, because I've never had any funding for the work that I do in the community, or for the work that I do in contributing to other people's growth. I've never had any funding for it. Maybe I've never looked for it. I don't know. Maybe if I went out to look for funding, someone would have funded it. But I think we all can start small, you know. So the first time that I went to visit a high school, I went here in Lamontville. I stay in Durban. So I went to Lamontville High School. I spoke with the principal there, and I introduced myself, and I told him what I want to do, and he allowed me that space. And you would be shocked, guys, because my first thought was that the high schools that are around Durban would be exposed to information. But when you go there, guys, the learners don't know. They don't have enough information to navigate through to what they want to do after high school. And the second approach that I did was to visit all the high schools that I went to when I was in high school. So I went to 3 high schools, one in Mooi River, one in Escort, and one in Beckville. So I approached those principals, took a drive there. I actually collected my pamphlets from a UKZN. I was working with Hazel Langa from UKZN. I collected pamphlets. From other colleges around Durban. I collected pamphlets from you know. So I collected all the information that I think a high school learner will need. I took a drive, started in Mooi River, following day in Escort, following day in Bergville, and really that just needs our petrol. You go there and you motivate the kids. They will ask you questions. And in Bergville, I actually asked some of my friends to accompany me who are in different field than me, so that learners can ask questions from all of us. And really the only program that I did this year in September, because in September I also I'm intentional to give back in September. So the only help that I had was this year when I did what I call a box of love, collected boxes full of cosmetics and goodies, and I went to primary school kids in all the primary schools that I learned when I was in primary. I asked all my friends on Facebook to just give me one box, each person one box. And I collected around 250 boxes, and I took them to high schools to primary schools. And the primary schools that I went to are in rural areas. I'm coming from a deep rural area. And, each primary has like 80 kids, 100 kids. So I went to all 3 of them, and I gave them the boxes of love. So we start small. You start by just going to one high school, introduce yourself, tell them what you want to do, and then you can then grow from there.
Yes, you know what? The College of Agriculture, Engineering and Sciences actually does initiatives where we go to high schools if we're invited or if we're approached by an organization, and actually go there and tell them about opportunities at varsity.
We're gonna
So maybe, yes, on your next trip, tell us, and we'll be happy to come along.
Great stuff.
And okay, so I think let me just go straight to the questions from our audience, because they have a lot of comments and they're feeling very motivated, which I think is amazing. Okay, I think Ntutugom Kiza has just said, wow, we live as we rise is such a powerful concept. I'm going to adopt it starting from today.
Great.
Then Kamuma Zibugo says, if I'm aware of the skills I lack and need somebody to coach me or groom me, are they paid for mentors? So I think she wants to know that, do you pay mentors if you approach someone and say, I need mentorship?
Oh, as far as I know, the mentors should not be charging people for mentoring them, because as I said, it's a good thing to do as a citizen, to make sure that you contribute to other people, to the growth of other people. So when someone approaches me to mentor them, I can never charge them for that, because really it's going to be that 30-minute session or 10-minute session for them to ask a few questions, and I share what I know and they learn from that. And sometimes, as I said at the beginning, we also learn a lot from the people that we mentor. In this platform of Google, I've learned a lot, because I have been assigned people who are CEOs, people who are powerful, to mentor them. And then it becomes a conversation where they learn from me and I learn from them. I know in the platform of Google Digital Skills, they don't charge people they don't charge mentees, but they pay us as mentors, so it's a point of Ikigai. You do what you love, you do what the world needs to mentor people, and you get paid for it, so no, you should not be paying a mentor. I don't believe that you should be paying a mentor. I believe that we share information with other people and we also gain information from other people. It should not be charged.
Okay, thank you for that. I hope Kamu is still with us so that they know that don't pay. If they ask for money, run. It's a scam. Alfred Kagaza says, powerful, very few leaders are able to lift others as they rise. And Ncebekazi Lecha says, I feel so motivated and ready to impart knowledge with others. And then Soli hasn't been successful with finding a mentor. Most of them don't have time, especially in the public sector. Can you suggest a public policy mentor in the public sector environment?
Yes, I can suggest. Maybe you can drop me an email after this. I will suggest someone for you in the public sector, and I know that they will be willing to mentor you.
Okay, great. And then Savannah Zacharias says, thank you for a thought-provoking talk. How can we change our language or approach to guide rather than instruct?
Yes, that's very important. That is really very important. I did say during the conversation that we do not tell people, as mentors, we don't tell people what to do. We don't instruct them what to do. Everyone knows their path. Our paths are different. I don't mentor people to be me. You don't mentor people to be yourself, but you mentor people to find their own path. And in doing that, if you instruct them, then it's going to be difficult because you're instructing them to what you want, whereas if you guide them to find what they want for their own path, then it becomes easier. And I'm very happy that you brought this up, because really we should not be that instructing people when we are mentoring them. Mentorship is about listening. When I do a one-on-one session with my mentees, I break the ice and whatnot, and then after that I allow them to talk. I'm not the first person to talk in the mentorship session. I allow them to talk. 4 or 5 minutes, they will share with me where they are in life, what makes them happy, where they want to be and whatnot. Then I will chip in there with some questions that will further provoke them to their own truth. I will not tell them their own truth, but I will provoke some of the questions that will lead to their own truths. So I think that's what we really need to be mindful of, because I've had in the past mentors that want to tell me what to do, and I just switch off. I switch off and I do not continue with that mentorship session, because I don't want to be told what to do. I know what I want to do, but I just want you to help me navigate through that, and maybe show me some of the blind spots, show me some of the training, material that I went into. I spoke about Usmane Lombat. When I met him, he guided me to the training that will enable me to reach my goal of transitioning from corporate to business. He didn't tell me he didn't instruct me to do it, but he shared with me information. I, on my own accord, then enrolled, went to Google, find out what he was talking about, and enroll in that academy. And really, it helped me. So we don't tell people what to do. We help them to navigate to their own truth.
Okay, great. Thank you so much for that. I think it's very important to actually distinguish between mentorship and teaching, because if you're going to have teachers all your life, that means you're not going to be mentored, which means your growth is going to be limited to what your teacher tells you at that time.
Exactly.
And I think if you do that, then you limit yourself to reaching your fullest potential, because you'll always be looking towards the teacher in terms of what they give you, and not think outside the box in terms of your limitations and aspirations. Okay. Nkululeko Magwaza would like to ask you something. Nkululeko?
Oh, thank you very much. Very informative. and very encouraging session, Thandi. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
I started, I work for the UKZN library. There was an initiative, Women in Engineering, that I started. I usually collect high school girls around and in township to come to the university, and we encourage them in becoming engineers. I wish I have known you earlier. Maybe you're going to be part of them and encourage them and so forth. Thank you very much for that. I wanted to ask a question. One of the attendees has mentioned that there's some kind of abuse in terms of mentorship, where people may ask money. There may be some kind of people wanting to develop their purpose through you, no longer mentoring you, but want to use you to their purpose. And then I was tempted, I think, to ask you, do you have any advice for us how to identify a mentor or a suitable mentor?
Yeah. Thanks, Kululeko. On your first point of assisting the high school girls to who are in STEM, who are in engineering, please let's continue with that. Let's partner and do that, because it's some of the activities that I do. And as I said, guys, at the beginning, we are connected, so we cannot work in silos. We are stronger together. So let's do that. Secondly, yes, I think even organizations, even us who are in business, who bring in graduates to come and work for us in what we call internship, we then don't really make that benefit them, because I believe that the internship is part of mentoring the graduates towards their own spheres. And that's how I actually began my mentoring in the engineering space, because I saw that these graduates that we get from universities that joins the engineering department, we actually use them for the organization, but they don't really learn in the process. Their time is not structured. At the end of the 2 years, they cannot then sit and say, we have learned A, B, and C, because I believe that it's also part of mentorship. So I encourage all of us to make sure that whoever that we have influence on, we make sure that it also benefits the organization and it also benefits their personal growth. So as I've said, I don't believe that we should be paid as mentors. I do not believe that. So if you identify someone to be your mentor, really they ask you to pay them, I would not encourage that you continue with that, because mentorship is a service. You are doing a service to contribute to somebody's growth. So the way that I approach mentors, I personally approach mentors, I approach people that I have seen Wuti, they are influential into the space that I want to grow into. Not people that I want them to hire me or anything, but people that can assist me in where I want to develop into. Australia at the beginning, she was my mentor, but she was not my line manager. And I told you guys that at the time when I was looking for the mentor, I did not really know, from the engineering department, which other departments that I can join that are connected with engineering. Because I believe that if you have an engineering base, you can do a whole lot of things. So I did not have a clear view. So I could not approach people that, I know that's where I want to go. But I approach people who are influential, people whom I know, having a session with that person, it will inspire me in a way, it will motivate me in a way, and they might shed some light in terms of what growth looks like. And then I can then, hold on to that and make sure that I implement it. And when I transitioned into business, I made sure that I identify people who are already in the industry that I want to transition into, because I wanted them to mentor me. I wanted to gain as much knowledge from them. I wanted them to give me comfort, ukuthi iyenzeka lento, it's possible and it's fine. You can do it. Yeah. Thanks, Dokozo. Dokozo, are you there? Can you guys hear me?
Yes,
I
we
think
can
we've
hear you.
lost Ntokozo.
Oh,
Let me just check if she's
Thandi.
there. She is.
Yes.
Ntokozo, are you there? I think Ntokozo's having a problem.
Gentlemen, sorry about that. Thank you, Thandi. Can everyone hear me now?
yes. Dokozo, we can hear you.
You can hear me now?
Yes, we can hear you.
Oh, thank God. Okay, I don't know what's happening, but I think because today we're talking about something that's very important, this is why it's happening. My grandmother believes that in order for something to become successful, you need to have some growing pains. If you don't go through a little bit of struggle, then if it's too easy, it comes too easy, then you're probably going to lose it just as easy. I'm saying this because the main aim this initiative was started, the whole alumni series. I'm sure some of you are probably wondering what's happening. Why this? We wanted to reach out to our recent graduates or the community at large to share skills that you wouldn't necessarily receive in class or during your studies. So we wanted to cater to people to show them, what, there's other things that you need in order for you to become a successful member of society. Because when you're in class, what do you learn? You learn stats, maths, physics, whichever field you're in, you learn what academia says. But then how now do you become a productive member of society? And I think Thandi tonight has highlighted the importance of starting small and knowing your environment. So know what you love, do what you love, and in that way be useful to other people, not just yourself. And as you are being useful to other people, you also learn something new from that, because now she's being paid to be a mentor, but she started to do it as something she was passionate about. I'm just going to take 3 more questions and then we're going to wrap up for tonight. Damien Mukantis is asking, in engineering, is it advisable to continue with postgraduate studies, or you would advise one to consider going to the workspace early?
Okay.
Thandi?
Can I share? Yes. Can you hear me?
Yes,
Can you
we
hear
can
me?
hear you. We can hear you.
All right. Can I just share what I did? Maybe then you can get some light, because I don't think that I'm in a position to tell whether this is good or bad. We all have different paths, so I cannot really tell, but I can share my own journey, and I think maybe you can find an answer there. So I started as an engineer, and when I grew, there were 2 options for me in my organization. The first option was to go up the engineering ladder, and become a specialist and end, or was to follow the management and leadership route. So after my degree, and after I've worked as an engineer and I became a senior engineer, I then decided to join the management and leadership route. I did not want to do the masters in engineering and whatnot. I decided to join the management and leadership. And that is why I did my MBA. And that is why I did my honors in advanced management and leadership through Duke University. So a corporate school there, they are business school there. So that was my choice. I had a choice of just going up the ladder and studying towards engineering and and become an engineering guru, or I had a choice of moving to corporate. So I moved to corporate to management and leadership. So that's how that was my own path. And it's really up to a person, individual growth, personal growth, what they want to do in life. But there are a vast number of things that you can do when you have an engineering foundation. There's a lot that you can do because it just opens up your mind to a whole lot of things. So just find your own path. And the way that I identified this business that I'm in now, I'm managing a BP Road here in Berea, is because I was in the petroleum industry all my life. I started working in the petroleum industry, and I grew there. And when I joined the corporate, the management, I got exposed to different businesses within petroleum industry. And I'm also a person who believes, Guti, you must do something that you are comfortable with, So anything that was within the petroleum space, I would be comfortable with because it's what I know and it's what I've started at school. Yeah, boss. So it was easy for me to then branch off and own petroleum service stations because I know this business. It's easy for me to lead people because it's a male-dominated industry. So you need to know your story. It's difficult to then. I want to go and do IT because I know nothing about computers. I know nothing. It will be difficult for me to lead that space. So it's really depend on your own growth. Where do you see yourself? Whether you want to continue, but what I can tell you is that there are lots of things that you can do with an engineering foundation.
Okay, thank you, Thandi. And just so everyone knows how to apply for the Google Digital Skills Program, you can find the link on Thandi's Facebook page, and she is Thandi Princess Mathabete Ngxongo. So you can go there and apply for Google's Digital Skills Mentorship Program and find yourself a mentor. And maybe that could be your first mentorship you start seeing. And then as you get used to being mentored, maybe start sending out emails to possibly new mentors. I think that will be the last of the comments and questions we'll be taking. Thandi, any last departing words?
So the last words from me, Ntokozo. One, thank you so much for having me into this platform. And secondly, I hope that we really got some inspiration from the conversation and from the contribution that all of us made on the chat. And I hope that we will be intentional in our own personal development growth, be it in corporate or in business. And in doing so, we will look for people who are ahead of us and try and get information from them, get inspiration from them, get motivation from them through mentorship. And I hope that we will be intentional in making sure that we avail ourselves to those that are behind us to make sure that they grow. One step up, you take other people behind. We all lift as we rise, and all of us must win. Thank you.
Hey, thank you so much, Thandi. Ladies and gentlemen, we have come to the end of our event today. Please remember, lift as you rise, words by Thandi Ngxongo. And in closing, join us on the 6th of December, 2021 at 6 p.m. as Dr. Siphumelele Ndlovu tells us more about the glass half full, how to embrace rejection and rise above criticism. And remember to like and follow us on Facebook at UKZN Alumni. Please note, we will be sharing tonight's recording as well as the link to signing up for the Google Digital Skills Program, Mentorship Program. Thandi has also shared her email address on the chat with everyone. So if anyone has any further questions they would like to ask Thandi, they can do so via email. For tonight, thank you very much for joining us. See you on the next program. Please enjoy your evening.